So, hi and welcome. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Hi, my name is Keisha Reyes, and I am a case manager. I've worked with uh, various agencies through the years. So I have dealt with from an older population to a very young population, which has been a great experience over the years. I learned so much from each one.
And
So
how do you relate to the LGBT community?
Well, with that, I have personally family members that have either transitioned or consider themselves to be bisexual or whatever that they decide at that time what they are actually identifying as. The other thing is um, I have also experienced how it could be a very uncomfortable um, topic, especially with I have old school parents and old school relatives that just, they're very Christian like in a sense when they just know it was man and woman. So we have those beliefs that is very hard to transition because they are so ingrained in them and they just feel as though their way is right. That's what it's supposed to be. Um, However, some have been able to come around over the years, despite them actually experiencing and actually knowing that certain family members were already in their own element. So they try to either not talk about it, avoid it, or they have their own reality that they were living and not the true reality of what that person, individual was actually living.
Mm.
So it's been an experience. Once you have hands on and once you actually there, then it affects you differently, especially if you're human. It
Mhm.
really affects you differently, especially if you care about human life, you care about feelings, emotions, doesn't matter whether, creed, anything, um, their gender, whatever it may be. If you love someone, that just, you should be able to just love that person. And I just feel that the behaviors or our behaviors are, media, those they project. You can look back in the day, you never seen it so much now because it's almost like they used to say, oh, it's just a fad, it's just a phase, it's just, experimentation, whatever it may be. But now you can see it's more acceptable. But there are still the ones who do not approve of it. I cannot, what my personal feelings is about it cannot affect the way I treat someone that I do not know. I have to respect what they are doing, how they are doing it. I can do that because at the end of the day, whatever someone's behavior is, that is a behavior, not the person itself to be like, oh, I hate this person, but they can be the sweetest person. You
Mm.
only hate them because of what they identify as.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And you brought up a good point with people don't like it or they ignore it, and I think that's in the micro sense, but in the macro sense, I'm noticing let's ignore this issue because I'm going around asking everybody and agencies, and it's sort of like I'm not hearing you, la 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 la. La. What? There's no problem here. I
right,
don't know what you're talking about. You know. So
right,
I'm certainly seeing a lot of that, and I think, it's a shame because there's a lot of good people doing a lot of good work, and it needs to be
Mhm,
focused. And it's like if I was talking about people that are disabled and coming to an
mhm,
agency and saying, "Hey, you help disabled people. Can you tell me more about what you do and where you get the authority to do that?" No problem. If I say that,
mhm,
but in the LGBT context, they're like, "I can't talk to you. Go away." And I'm like,
mhm.
I don't understand why. It's nothing controversial about what I'm
Yeah,
asking you.
that that piece, that piece, and it's so, and some of them are so hypocritical until, but what I found though, it's not in every case that most who are hypocritical, they have an issue with their own identity. They have an issue with themselves. And it's almost like when we're entertaining it, they become defensive and not even realizing it.
Mhm.
And then I kind of step back and I look at things a little bit differently on how they handle things and how, when we talk about, they become very uncomfortable. For you to become so uncomfortable about the topic when it's plastered everywhere, it's almost like just with, if anyone saw, everything that's been going on this past pandemic year, oh my goodness. Um, you're not human if you couldn't react to how various ones of brown faces were being killed or being brutalized. I'm like, it didn't matter. Like, some people react to like it was awful, absolutely awful to say we're in a great country. And, and although this is the sort of, um, activity that we actually succumb to be such a great country. And also land of free of speech, all these things. And at the same time, any LGBT, they were not able to do that. So it wasn't like they were free. They're
Mm,
still like chained. And the same like still with brown. It's almost like the Constitution is not made for us. It's not
exactly.
made for you to still be free to do what you have, to say what you want to. Because when you exercise your same rights as anyone else, you're penalized and they're not. So the thing is, even with the community, what I find too, although all of the adversity that they undergo, they're they're still so resilient. Um, they always bounce forward, so to speak. I know resilient means you bounce back, but I think about it bouncing forward, um, because either they're doing their own little organizations, they're trying to, and they include, it's like inclusion. They include everyone, not just them only, but of course they have to promote to see just how big they really are. And you never know who's a part of. Look at all the celebrities that are now coming out. Look at, I mean, because now it's acceptable. It's the media, they show it. I don't care. Years ago, if you watched any soap operas, you can barely see someone kiss properly or make out.
I know.
I'm like, now you can see the whole. I'm like, hello, isn't this still channel 4, 5? I mean, isn't this prime time? I'm like, the kids are still up. I said, what are you doing here?
Mhm.
But it's just, it just baffles me sometimes for some people to just be so, uh, just, it's distasteful, it's this, it's that. I get it. You know what? A lot of us it's how we were raised. Again, it goes back to your upbringing.
Mhm.
It goes back to, um, what it says. If you read the Bible, you do these things. All of it goes back almost to like to a religion, um, foundation.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people, that's why they don't know how to deal with it. I said, listen, whether you do, you don't, whatever floats your boat. You understand? It's not for me to judge you. I'm not here to do that. So I may not, go head over heels and celebrate with you and do all these things, but at the same time, because I'm not going to disrespect you.
Hmm.
So, but at the same time, they're still individuals. They should not still be going through a lot of the, abuse that they experience either. You're targeted because of this, you targeted because of that. But, and we can go back to even some, like I said, some countries. Oh, you
Yeah.
get banished.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
You get killed in
Killed.
certain places.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Definitely.
coming here is almost like a refuge for them, so they
Yeah.
can live their life, so they can experience. I've seen it where, you know, some of the best, I want to say, families that I had any type of contact with were my families who were of couples, same sex couples. They
Yeah.
are amazing. They're amazing parents.
Hmm.
I'm going to tell you. And the kids, the way they grow up, I had one, she told the teacher, she said, "Oh, um, I have two daddies. So I'm very lucky." I said, "And that you are."
Hmm.
You know, it's just like, yeah, I know I have a mommy, but she's where she is, but I have two daddies. I'm the luckiest girl in the world. I had two. I said, so, it's just, out of the mouth of babes sometimes, you can just realize that they're just seeing what they're given, and the nurturement, the nurturing, the affection that they give them, the love that they give them. Some think, oh, you're going to grow up like that, then you're going to become one of them. No, it's not so.
Hmm.
People are so ignorant, and they don't open their minds up to see anything else. They're so closed-minded and have tunnel visions that's why certain areas of the world just will never extend themselves. It will
Yeah.
never be extended at all.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I probably rambled a little bit and
No,
long-winded
no,
my
I want to hear everything you got to say. And so let
but
could you expand a little bit on what you see as the reality for LGBT kids? And not, I don't want you to tell like where you work or anything, but can you talk about like what you see with your eyes? And is there a need for an LGBT center?
that the latter, definitely. They need a place that individuals understand them. They need a place of similar, like a place of refuge, so they can be themselves, because although they may identify themselves as such for whichever group they want to place themselves in, they still need that support. They need support, emotionally, um, physically, spiritually, however you want to look at it. They need to be well rounded. That's mind, body, and soul you're working with. So, with the children and the population I work with, they're in dire need for it because they're too scared to say it. They're too afraid to, you wonder why some are acting out. You wonder why some have certain behaviors. It's usually because I can't be that honest. I can't come forward, to my parents about this, or my grandmother, or whomever is raising them, especially the ones who are being raised by their grandparents. They don't understand it, and so many of our children are really suffering right now because of that. Some, they're experimenting even more so. 1 week you're this, 1 week you're that. But I think once you have a center that is catered to them and their needs, it will definitely help them either mature into where they need to be, or it will help them to decide like whether or not I'm just going through this, as a phase, or to be rebellion or whatever. But they have to then, but then when you have a place of this magnitude, then it will be able to mold them, to help them understand, like, this is not a game to some people. This is what they live. This is how we live. So, you know how they used to have scare straight? It's almost like they need to have, listen, this is going to be identity, getting straight, getting where you need to be, or getting, or trying to figure you out to decide whether or not this is what you are, that's what you are, or you just like the idea of it, you know? Because you don't want to disrespect the community. You don't want to go in there and just be a facade for it, and, undercover you're something else.
Mm,
And a lot of our kids too, they're coming up even younger and younger, believe it or not. They're starting as early as 7 years old, from my experience. So just understand, when you have children of that age, you want to know why. Why do they feel that way? Why do they think that, okay, why do you feel like you may be this, or your feelings or whatever? Because, a lot of them just think of their environment. Some kids, you can grow them in the best environment ever. However, it's what they feel. And you need to be able to understand that. The adults have to be educated. It's more so of education, because a lot of us are living in ignorance. They're not even given a chance to, some of them. And sometimes what I love to do, I love to get someone to talk to someone. I was like, oh, by the way, did you not know? Really? Oh, so you're surprised. So you thought all of them was what? It's almost like a brown face. You get scared because you think, oh my goodness, they were very intelligent. What? You think we're all what? No, you're not ignorant. So you have these individuals that, have these just outrageous theories. And I'm like, whatever, just stop right there. Because sometimes when you can see where that conversation is going, you just cut it. Um, but yes, the younger they are, I just feel as though that having a center would really help them,
yeah,
really with the education part of it, because I know that, and if you're a part of that and you're on the board, I know you're going to make sure that they have, from the mental piece of it, because all of them, they just think that it's a mental thing because they can't figure out what they are.
yeah,
Okay, sometimes psychologically, yeah, but it could be a little bit more and go deeper than that. So I know certain things is going to be in medically, this, that, and the third is going to be, in this community, in order for it to also bring out outsiders to also help, to be ones to help, to encourage, have someone who has that experience, have liaisons throughout the community. You know how they have stigma free
yeah.
signs everywhere? Okay, we're going to be stigma free again for LGBTQ, TIQ. What's the other three letters? I know they added some more for me.
Yeah, I
So
forgetting. I'm more. I should know it, but it's just like
I'm
I
like,
stopped
what?
being able to retain information at a certain
Right.
age.
Thank you. I stopped retaining even after a certain time. How about but we
Yes,
won't talk
yes.
about age, because Lord have his mercy. I said I go second by second, so it's a blessing if I can remember the next minute. So
So let me ask you something.
mhm,
So like we were talking earlier, the Human Rights Campaign put out a percentage saying 20 to 40% of homeless youth is LGBT. Now,
I
in
believe
your
it.
experience, do you think that's an accurate number? And do you think that that it's an accurate number or not? And do you think these kids are getting the help that they need, like therapy and backup? I know your agency certainly has flags and stuff. I don't know into what how to what detail, and I would love to talk to your administrator and whoever would, if they would be open to talking to me about like how much they do. But I can just walk in there, I can see there's flags and there's groups and stuff like that, and I'm like, wow, that's impressive. So, but an overarching, these kids they're being homeless for whatever reason, do you think generally they're getting the services they need for LGBT?
W- Well, first, your question regarding the human rights and the percentage. The percentage, I can say maybe accurate or maybe even a little higher than what we all actually calculate, because of the fact that when a lot of children even age out of the system, they don't have anyone. They're best prepared, throughout their teenage life, let's say starting at like 16, 15, or 16, when they're able to get a job or whatever, they go into like independent status or living status or something of that nature. And they still don't have all what they need just to live just even um, a normal kind of life, so to speak, even after that, because then a lot of them fall into various situations because they don't have family. They find it out on the streets. And usually those streets, they get turned. And out there, they know they're vulnerable. They're targets because once you see someone who really doesn't have a home, or you can kind of like tell when you can tell sometime when you have a runaway, or when you have someone who may not um, be so street smart, a little naive, they're the targets and they fall off. And, being that some of our kids already have that, dealing with that stigma, or dealing with their own identity issue, it's even more dangerous for them, because once someone can see, they know. Some, present themselves, some even get in certain situations that are beyond, our control, that they can get caught up in.
Yeah.
And and the other thing is, with some of our kids, they're not prepared as well as they should be. However, they are trying to um, provide the services for them. What they try to do sometimes, they have liaisons in every office to help um, with these children. If you What was happening now, what they try to do, they try to find out if we have any children who identify, who's on our caseload, who's already, in that status, um, so they can help them. They reach out to them. They try to link them with certain services, but I see that with the LGBTQ, some agencies only have like a small, group, but it's not enough to maintain and continue for them. It's only for, let's say they'll do it for like 6 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great for that short term, but we need something long term. And once it's in the community where we do have a high number, I really do believe then everyone will see just how large the population is just in
Yeah.
your little 5 mile radius.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of these children, this generation of kids are different ones. They're a different kind. I'm telling you. They're very outspoken, number one. Some of them are perfect advocates for themselves. And it's just, they amaze me at times, especially how some of them, they're so well spoken. They're so, um, they can articulate exactly what the adults should be doing. Is coming from the mouth of a child,
Mm.
so we can learn from them. But adults, of course, we're like ingrained, like, children are supposed to be seen and not heard. But I'm going to tell you, they do have a voice. They
Exactly.
really do.
Exa
And that voice needs to be heard. It's a time and a place for everything, so allow them their platform when they can. Let them speak, because that's the only way for us as adults to understand what they're actually experiencing, what's going on, how things are feeling, all those things. And it's just a pity that we lose them for just not listening,
Yeah.
because when we have those ones that put their hand up, stop, I don't want to hear it right now. You don't know how far you have probably pushed them further into a state of depression, a state of, I don't want to live anymore. You have a lot of suicides for this too, they don't
Yes.
talk about that.
Yes.
So it can be
Suicide,
based.
addictions, everything.
Yeah, and it's really crazy because then they think they can escape it. And some just think when it comes to the substance abuse, it's like, oh, I feel nothing. They don't judge me when I'm high. I do this when I'm high. It doesn't bother me. Um, and it's just sad. It really is. And even for our county, Bergen County is enormous. We're large. We have so much to cover.
Hmm.
It's ridiculous. And I think that we just don't need one. We need one in every region in
Yeah, we
order
do.
to.
It's a huge, huge
It's
county.
Oh, absolutely. They need one. You want to have a central one, a north one, a south one, or whatever. That's fine and great. But at least once you get started in where it's like one of the largest, and we know this, then I think that it will then be able to filter through every other place. And, I can even go to Essex County. Oh my goodness. There, I know you're going to have them.
Oh
You
yeah.
have them. You have them. It's because some, if they can't be normal around here, then they're going to the least areas, whether it's Essex County, even down to Camden County.
Hmm.
You deal with the capital. Please, that's like the worst place. Um, but ultimately we do need, I do agree with having a center for them. I'm like, we have a center for everyone else who we wanted to, when it came to anyone with certain diseases or whatever, even with the with HIV, those, they have their own setting. Before, just we can just go back and look at the 80s. This is what they did. This is how they turned that out. And then look at it now. Now everybody's involved and jump on board and want to help. Okay, that's just like the norm. That's part of the norm. LGBT is still new. They're still learning. So I'm
Hmm.
gonna tell you about, okay, we dealing with this in 20s. So by shucks, in the next 10 years, 5 years, where are we gonna be at? We're gonna be right on the bandwagon.
Hmm.
Just like, oh, this is what we're doing. This is what we need to do for them.
Yeah.
So until it happens close to someone, this is the only time that they will then, you know, put a jump start on it.
Yeah. So let me ask you, I mean, I'm gonna have to end soon because I have another person.
Oh, no problem. Mhm.
And no, I just want to stay talking to you forever because I love you as a person, but I also love what you're saying. Um, so one last question, really, really quick. And this is dear to my heart, is there is no governing body for LGBT issues. There's no one saying this is the right way and this is the wrong way. So, and I know you're probably you're not the one that's making the decisions for your agency, but how do you think agencies should approach that? Because we in the community, I'm seeing people slapping up a flag saying that we do this work, but not actually doing the work, and then either getting paid or getting um,
Mhm,
recognition for it when they're not actually doing it. And then some
mhm,
people generally are trying to, but they, just because you're LGBT doesn't mean you know everything and need can then go teaching, or just because you have a good heart means that you can do it, and you need somebody to sit there and be like, let's this is how you do it, this is let explain, and let's work together. What do
mhm.
you think about that in terms of agencies right now that are doing the work and saying we
Well, well, agencies who are genuinely doing the work, that's great. And they should hold their other agencies from which they are partnership, sponsorship, whatever it may be, hold them accountable too at that magnitude, at that platform. They should be held responsible to also supersede. It's almost like if you wanted to put in a bid. Okay, I'll bid this for every so and so. Okay, I bid for every LGBT you help this month or that month. So once you put it where it is really a necessity and it's important as it is important to help a state that is in crisis for water,
Mm,
why can't we do it for saving human lives that are young children up to adults growing into adulthood? Why can't we have something for them? And why cannot we hold each person accountable? It's accountability. If you don't hold your colleagues, your sponsors, your anyone that you have dealings with, if you cannot hold them accountable for what they are saying, your action speaks louder than words. Once you speak, you can speak all day. That lip service, I need action. Lip service, you can talk all day with no results. But when you put in action and you can see them like, okay, every month we do this for them. Every, we do this, we do that. We do a big fundraiser, or we do a black tie fair for them to raise money for the agency. And I mean, just various things, art, that's the other thing. Some children are is difficult. Sometimes they express everything through their music and art, but as agencies, we are really the forefronter for this, especially if you're in a state agency or, at that magnitude down to the nonprofit agencies. These are the ones, we're not state level, you're getting funding from the state. These nonprofit agencies, you got to struggle and write grants to get your little bit of money to actually
mhm.
do what you want to do. And unfortunately, they don't get enough to even support the group. So, but going forward, I really do believe it's about accountability, and you need to hold your person accountable to doing what they're allegedly saying that they do. If you flying that flag, let me see what you're doing for that flag. I need to see it. I
Yeah.
need to see the action. No, just because I see it, that doesn't mean nothing to me. I just see the flag. What are you doing? What
Mhm.
physical work? What have you done? Or, who have you helped? Whether it's one person out of a year, that's that one person that you got off the street that you helped. Yes. But, I really do think it's about accountability, compassion, and you just being human nature, just loving them despite their behavior. You
Yeah.
can say, oh, I don't like you. No, I just don't like your behavior, but I love you. But it's just your behavior. That's a behavior. Some people have a behavior of their ignorance, not knowing. So it's like, you can be my girl, but you can have your own opinion, but educate yourself first before you start yapping, to
Yeah.
understand them, to see why. Simple questions to ask these young people. I mean, even some of the older ones, you have to ask them. You have to
Mhm.
understand why. You have to understand, all the time is not because of an abuse.
Yeah.
Most I have a lot of that. So, oh, because I got abused, da, 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 this is why I do this. Okay, that's your reason.
Yeah.
Someone else can be something different, but yeah. So
Yeah.
I hope
Well,
I helped.
you helped immensely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Before I hit stop, do you feel comfortable with what you talked about?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do.
And you know this is to be made public at some point. That's the means,
Okay.
the reason for behind it. And at any time, for any reason, just if you feel like, hey, you know what, I need to squash that, just let me know. Just give me enough
Okay.
time to do so. And
Okay.
I'll before I publish it, whatever format it looks like, I'll make sure
Mhm.
you see it to give the okay.
All
Okay?
right. No problem. Sounds good. Anything I told you, I'll help you. Doesn't matter.
Thank
Friends
you.
for life.
Yes.